edition of Lunch and Learn here, brought to you by Sharon View Federal Credit Union in the service of the Furman University Athletics Department. I'm Dan Scott, the voice of the Paladins, and we're very happy to have you with us on what is our penultimate show prior to taking a break for the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays. And penultimate is just a big journalism word for next to last. It means we've got one more show left after this one before we get to the break. And that's one actually we added next Tuesday. Originally, we were not going to do one, but we have added one out of popular demand. And we will be visiting next week on the Lunch and Learn series with volleyball coach Michelle Young, women's lacrosse coach Rachel Witten, and softball coach Wally King. All three of them will be our special guests next week. And then that will be the last one we'll do before we take the break for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then we'll come back sometime in January at a date yet to be determined. Hopefully by then, we're also going to be in the throes of an exciting conference basketball season and getting ready for spring football to kick off. If you missed the announcements earlier this week, the non-conference men's basketball schedule is done, save for probably adding one more game on the 25th, and that is still being worked on by the staff. But everything else is now complete. It's on the website. The women's schedule, I believe, is done as well. And, of course, football has been done for some time with the re-addition of the Citadel onto Furman's football schedule in the spring. All of that is at FurmanPaladins.com. We are very happy to have all of you here with us, and we're very happy to have our special guests with us today. We're going to spend some time on the golf course here at Furman with head coach Jeff Hull of the women's program and Matt Davidson of the men's program, and they each have some very special guests that are going to be joining us here today as well. I will tell you that one of those guests has to leave us by 12:20, so we're going to be bringing her in a little sooner than usual and kind of staggering the way we do things. But let's welcome Jeff Hull and Matt Davidson to the fray here today. Jeff, Matt, how are you doing?
Good, Dan. Thanks. How are you?
Doing well.
Doing well. Thanks, Dan.
It's good to see you guys. You've been blessed with, all things considered, not some bad golf weather for the most part here in the fall. The question is, what have you been able to get done under these circumstances? I'll start with you, Jeff.
We kind of took the attitude with what was going on with, the opportunity to really learn and try and work on some things in preparation for spring. We very rarely get that opportunity to have a whole semester, because we are a year-round sport. A lot of the other sports, would have an off-season program to do those things, but, we never do. So it was kind of we made the best of the situation that we could. So, and the weather has been fantastic. I remember I looked at the weather the other day, in the history for last year, it was 44 and 25, and it was like 70, 75 that day. So yeah, we've been fortunate.
Matt, same question for you. How have you been handling this unusual fall?
Yeah, it was definitely unusual. I was impressed with the team and how they handled not competing as a team this fall. I will say, like Jeff, we did some more individual time, worked on some things you wouldn't get a chance to work on if you were competing in tournaments and qualifying every week. But we also play a sport where we got really pretty fortunate in the fact that other than March and April, competitive golf on every level, other than about half of the collegiate schools, just kind of rolled along. So my guys played full summer schedules and actually had some amateur events they played in this fall as well. So competitively, we got a lot of improvement in as well, and I think that's important for a sport like golf. It's something you need to compete at. You need to learn the skill of playing under stress and pressure, and I think we're in a pretty good spot competitively going in, despite not having played as a team this fall.
And Matt, I can't help but wonder, you being the most recent of the hires here in the golf programs, how this unusual fall with COVID just kind of blowing everything up and all the readjusting that you've had to do, has it slowed the progression of where you're trying to go in building this program to your standards, or in the long run, do you think this is going to help?
It's no, I don't. It hasn't slowed it. I don't think it's going to help either, but it hasn't slowed anything we're doing as a team. Obviously this spring, if we can play a full successful spring season, that'll be very important for us. I think we have the potential, have a lot of talent, do some special things this spring. It was disappointing to lose out on a chance at the Southern Conference Championship last spring, but I think we're kind of set up in even a better spot with guys with some more experience, and then with Keller Harper coming back for a 5th year, and Jack Crosby as well as a junior, kind of leading us. So I think we're in a great spot this spring. So as long as we can get a full successful spring season, I think we're in really good shape.
And Jeff, same question for you, but obviously from a different perspective, because you're established, you've got one of the top programs in the country. How is this fall helping and or hurting that progression to continue that level of play?
Well, I mean, I don't, I agree with Matt. I mean, it's definitely not helping, but everybody's in the same boat. So we're not in a different position. I mean, there are some schools that are playing, but all of our players, played some individual tournaments as well. So they did have the competition this fall, albeit not a team aspect. And I think a lot of people have talked about, recruiting, in the dead period, not being able to get out. But, to me, I think it's actually been somewhat good, because I've spent a lot more time, talking with recruits, and getting to know them during this time, because you can't see them, you can't visit with them, personally, you can't go watch them play. So hopefully, we've built some good relationships there. I still see this as, with what we're doing and how we're trying to get through this COVID. I think it'll be good when we get done with it.
Well, we've got a lot of ground to cover today with both coaches, and we try to do it within the confines of an hour or less here at lunchtime. I'll remind you that if you have any questions for them or the special guest that we'll be introducing, you can send them to me privately in the chat function here on Zoom, or you can send them to Ty Osborne and he will forward them to me. And we've already got some questions rolling in. But I mentioned we got to do things a little bit different today, because one of our special guests has to get out of here in about 10 minutes. So before we bring her in, though, let's go ahead and let's put the poll question up, Ty, and then we'll get to Natalie Srinivasan. And we've got a poll question, and then we'll do a trivia question a little later on. But the poll question today, sponsored by Christopher Trucks, is this: what's the best feeling you have when you're playing golf? Bombing the drive straight down the fairway, placing the first shot within 10 feet on a par 3, or sinking a putt from 15 plus feet? I don't see the option I would have chosen there, and that is not hitting it into someone's yard and or breaking a window in a subdivision built on a golf course. So you guys can go from and just choose from those first 3, and we will revisit that coming up in just a little bit. One young lady who hits them long, she hits them straight, and she is also really good with the putter, is the reigning NCAA Women's Player of the Year, and in the early stages of her professional career, Furman's own Natalie Srinivasan. Natalie, welcome to Lunch and Learn. How are you?
Thanks. I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing good. Just kind of catch us up on what's going on with you right now.
I'm actually in Florida. I'm with one of my best friends, Taylor and Cotland. I just spent a few days down here with her, and I have to catch a flight here in a few hours. But yeah, I've just taken some time off. Our season ended a couple weeks ago, so just kind of rest and recharge, and then get back to practicing and trying to get better.
How many professional tournaments did you play in once your Furman career finally ended until this break that you're in now?
Probably like 4 or 5. Just a good learning experience. I mean, especially we didn't really know when we were going to start after March. The tour shut down for a bit, so it was nice to be able to get back out and try to see where my game stood. And it was just a really much a learning year and stuff, trying to figure out what I knew better.
What did you find different about being a professional golfer as opposed to being a collegiate golfer?
Probably just like doing stuff that our coaches did for us, like hotel, travel, food, like all that kind of stuff you have to do by yourself, which is just a little bit of an adjustment. It's not hard stuff, but just figuring out how you like to do things. And I guess like when you like to get there for the tournament to prepare and just kind of relearning process. I kind of felt like I was a freshman in college again. So just kind of trying to figure it out.
Yeah, you kind of figure out a lot of things you take for granted are done for you at the collegiate level as an athlete, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Have you enjoyed the experience so far? I mean, you said it's like being a freshman all over again, trying to figure these things out, but are you enjoying the process?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's just a new journey. So my Furman chapter closed, and now I'm just starting this new chapter of my book. So it's just been nice to kind of do something different, and it's kind of been refreshing.
If you have questions for Natalie, please drop them in the chat function now to me privately or to Ty Osborne, and we're getting a couple for you, Natalie. First one, it says, can you just tell us what's unique about being a Furman student athlete?
Definitely Furman doesn't let you take any shortcuts, especially with academics. They always tell us we're students before athletes, so just kind of balance that and try to do well in school. That was a big priority for me. I graduated with a 3.9 in health sciences, so it was nice to be able to say I did both really well. That was always, when I came in, that was my two things, school and golf. So it definitely can be done, but Furman, they definitely expect a lot out of you.
Next question is, what was it like having Coach Hall as your caddy in some of your first pro tournaments?
It was fun. It was just made me more comfortable, just trying to figure out what I need to do. And he's good to help me on the golf course, so it was fun.
Jeff, I would imagine if I ask you to just take off riffing on this young lady, you could eat up this entire lunch and learn and then some. But tell us about Natalie from your perspective. What makes her so special?
Yeah, I've been asked that question a lot. I mean, because she's won so many awards that, you know, people keep asking, well, what's special about Natalie? And I mean, obviously she's a really good player. I think what made Natalie kind of what separated her from everybody else in college golf was just how mentally strong she is. You know, very, very few things ever bother Nat. You know, you talk about the proverbial duck on the water. You know, she just kind of glides across the surface, and you know, you'll see her hit a weird shot every now and then, and it just doesn't even faze her. You know, and so I think that's what's been the biggest difference with her and why she's been so successful. Obviously, her golf game is solid. I mean, her short game, you know, and her wedge game is amazing. But I think the mental strength is the part that really kind of took her over the top.
Well, and in any sport and in any profession, if you're going to succeed at the highest level, usually the mentally strongest people are the ones who separate themselves from the pack. So it's not a surprise to hear you say that. We just came off of a weekend which saw a rescheduled Masters played at Augusta National. And Natalie, you had an opportunity to play in the first ever women's amateur tournament at Augusta National. Someone wants to know what that experience was like.
That was really cool. So I've actually played there, including the tournament 4 times. So it wasn't like the first time I've been out on the course, but in a tournament setting, it's definitely different. My dad caddied for me, so it was super special. Walking up aiming corner and then 18 with him was something I'll never forget. But having all the team out there, Jeff, and then our old assistant coach at the time, was just super cool, especially represent Furman. Myself, Haley, and then Alice also played, so it was really cool just to be out there and be part of the first one.
As a golfer, is that the holy grail? I mean, what did you feel like the first time you played that course?
Probably the first time I played it was probably, I think, 5 years ago. And it's just like the elevation changes. I mean, you hear people say it all the time. TV just doesn't really show, like, just kind of those things. And then the greens really are super crazy. So just to be able to putt to some of the pins that you see the guys play, and it just makes you really appreciate how good they are when they're shooting 20 under like Dustin did last week.
The next question we have wants to know who would win a head-to-head matchup, Natalie or Jeff Hull in his prime?
I know you'd have to answer that question.
I'm gonna put my money on that. Just we can't gamble. I'm sorry. Never mind.
Do we have any black and white footage of you in your prime, Jeff?
I don't think they had color back then, so it's probably all black and white, Dan.
Oh, that's fantastic. So basically, we got no answer there other than Jeff is saying that Natalie would win. She has already learned how to be professional and handle the press. She graciously backed out of that question.
No, I can guarantee you when she hangs up, she's going to look at Taylor and go, "Yeah, I'd take him all day. It's no problem." And Taylor's probably sitting back there saying, "Yeah, I'll take him too."
Taylor's at the pool, so.
Oh.
She'll say it later. You don't have any problem with that, do you, Jeff?
No. I want all of them to beat me. It's fine.
Yeah. Natalie, this goes back to a similar question than what we asked before, but talking about the difference between playing professionally and intercollegiately, just the talent you've seen as a professional so far, the pressure, camaraderie, how much of that is different than your Furman experience?
I mean, I have a lot of friends out there. A lot of people I played college with have now moved on and graduated to the tour. So I know a lot of people. Taylor's out there, so she's my buddy. But yeah, I mean, everybody's really good. But you just gotta have your bad weeks still be good, and that's kind of where I'm trying to tighten things up. I just don't make a lot of mistakes, and that's at every level. But just kind of learning at this different level, kind of what I need to do to get back to where I want to be, and I like to win, obviously. So just doing everything I can to be successful. It's just, I really enjoy that process.
Well, liking to win is usually a prerequisite to being great from a sports standpoint. I know you've got to go, so I'll make this the final question for you. Just if you would relate to everyone here how your time at Furman has prepared you for this next step in your career.
Yeah, Furman, I had such a great experience at Furman. We had such a fun team, great coaches. All my professors were super supportive of my golf, and just our community has been so supportive. Our Furman bubble, as we call it, on our team. But yeah, it's just, I've really grown as a person. I learned a lot about myself, kind of my views on everything, and just it's really taught me to grow up and just kind of I can do things on my own. So I'm really appreciative Furman and just all the experiences I have. They just kind of shaped me who I am today. So I can't thank everybody enough.
Well, listen, we want to wish you the best of luck. We know that you're going to be a great success in whatever you do, however long this professional golf career works out for you and beyond that. We appreciate you spending some time with us. Let's give her a Zoom virtual round of applause here, folks. A golf clap, if you will.
Thanks, Nat.
Thanks, guys.
Natalie, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
That's the reigning NCAA Women's Player of the Year, folks, from right here at Furman University. That ain't bad. Matt Davidson, the men's coach, Jeff Hull, the women's coach, our features on this Lunch and Learn, and we'll get to the men's special guests coming up here in just a moment. Matt, I'll come back to you as we were talking with Natalie and talking about her achievements here and where this women's program is. And we know that this men's program has the potential to do the same thing. And that's where you want this program to go. What can fans do? What can supporters of the program do to help you in your job right now and elevating this program to where you want to be?
Yeah, alumni support, friends of our program, anybody in the Furman family, anybody who wants to, support in any way. We try to get everybody excited about our program. We try to obviously give people some good things to follow and hopefully some tournament wins and keep everybody informed. But, anybody who wants more information, who wants to support us, we have a fantastic alumni base that's helped us out a lot, but certainly, keeping everybody engaged and informed and excited is a huge part of what we do as a program and one of our goals moving forward for sure.
And Jeff, obviously, how important that is because you're kind of living it right now, the support it takes to help keep your program where it is and help it strive to be even better.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we can't do it, without our strong alumni and the people who were so generous, to us. We're fortunate in that, we have a strong history, and so, that it's interesting now because, when we're recruiting players and you talk about the great history of Furman Golf, they kind of have to look back at it, but those are the people who not only built the program but have supported us for so long, and so we're just really appreciative of all of that, and we're always trying to bring new fans in.
Questions for the coaches, questions for our still to come special guests, you can send them to me in the chat function privately, or send them to Ty Osborne, and he will send them along to me as well. Let's pull up the trivia question, Ty, as a precursor to introducing our next special guest. Brad Faxon is joining us today, and according to Wikipedia, and Brad can testify to the accuracy of this when we talk with him, but Brad Faxon, a former golfer here at Furman and a longtime pro, has 21 career wins as a professional. How many of those are on the PGA Tour? 6, 8, or 10? And we will revisit that trivia question, brought to you by Christopher Trucks, coming up here in just a bit. But let's welcome Brad Faxon into our Lunch and Learn. And if you have questions for him, you can go ahead and pop those into the chat function as well. Brad, welcome. How are you? Ty, is he not unmuted? Because I'm getting nothing here on my end.
Yeah, Dan, he is unmuted. I'll work on it.
Okay. All right. Well, hopefully we'll get Brad up and running here in just a second to spend some time with us. Also joining us from the men's side of things is Keller Harper, who Matt Davidson mentioned a moment ago, has rejoined this program for a 5th year. And we brought Keller on despite the fact that he is related to Hunter Reed. And he's going to spend some time with us here. Keller, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself while we're waiting on Brad to get done, we'll bring you in for a minute. Good to see you. And all joking aside, it's great to have you back here for a 5th season. And we're not hearing Keller either. So something else we're going to have to work on. Folks in the radio business, things like this are inevitable. And normally when something like this happens, we would go to commercial and try to get it fixed. We don't have the luxury of doing that. So we're just going to go on the fly and see what we can do. Ty Osborne's going to work with both Brad and Keller to try to get those audio issues worked out. Matt, we'll just kind of let you speak on behalf of first of all, Keller Harper, having this young man back for a 5th season. What's that going to mean for your program?
It means a lot for our program as far as our chances to win tournaments this spring, for sure. Obviously, Keller's an outstanding player, 2-time conference player of the year. He's won tournaments. He's kind of coming into his own nationally now. Big amateur level. He played in the Azalea Invitational, which is a great tournament in Charleston this fall, and came in 5th place. So I'm biased. I think he's one of the better players in the entire nation. So having him at the top of the lineup just for consistency, and obviously the scores he shoots is incredible, but also the way he leads the team. He's our captain. He's one of the hardest workers I've ever seen on any level. So just having him to set the standard and set an example, it makes a coach's job a lot easier. That's for sure. And just a great leader and a great player.
Yeah, coming off of a season, by the way, in which he logged the 4th best scoring average in Furman men's golf history. So when you've got a player of that caliber coming back, that's got to make you feel pretty good as a coach.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the top 3 were 3 of Brad's Faxon seasons. So obviously he's playing some fantastic golf, even on a program history level. I think he'll go down as probably the 2nd best player in the history of our program behind Brad. So to have have him around for an extra year is even more helpful. I don't think we're going to keep him for any more years after this. This is his 5th year, so he'll be done, and then we'll look forward to watching him play professionally and do it for a living.
All right, do we have the audio situations worked out? Keller, you want to try talking to us again? We're still getting nothing from Keller. What about Brad? I know Brad can hear us. Are we able to hear Brad now?
I'm right here. I don't know if that makes.
There we go.
All right.
Yeah, now we're batting at least 500.
Come on,
on the men's side of things. Brad Faxon is with us, and as Matt Davidson, the biggest name in men's golf history here at Furman. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm down here in Florida. We moved about 6 or 7 years ago, and it's been a great place to be for the last few months with everything that's going on in the world, because weather's been perfect. It's been maybe a little bit wet like we saw at Augusta, but a nice spot to be. And my wife and I have enjoyed living down here. My youngest daughter didn't go to Furman, but she's at SMU right now, coming home for the break pretty soon.
Hey, I got to ask you, when you watched what transpired at Augusta National this weekend and saw the scores, and for the first time ever, Dustin Johnson finishes with a score of 20 under. And I saw some talk in the press about the scoring playing Augusta National in the fall is different than playing Augusta National normally when the Masters will be held in April. Weather conditions, was there that big of a difference in what the scoring would be simply because of the conditions from November to April?
No question about it. Extraordinarily humid and warmer temperatures. You've probably seen it up there in Greenville. And Augusta, typically in the spring, is just coming off. They've already overseeded the Bermuda grass with some ryegrass. That's why it looks so pretty all the time. And it didn't quite look as extraordinarily perfectly manicured, especially around some of the greens. The Bermuda grass hadn't gone dormant. A lot of shots that you saw, all the players were having trouble sometimes keeping the ball on the greens, or shots with long irons just almost seeming to plug when they landed. I liked what Jeff Hull said about Natalie and how mentally tough she was, and 2 great examples this weekend. What we saw, first of all, on Sunday, Dustin Johnson teeing off with a 4-shot lead, which is never easy to do. I mean, this guy looks like he has no pulse, but he had played a nearly flawless round on Saturday with hit every drive in the fairway, 14 holes out of 14. He hit 16 out of 18 greens, and all of a sudden he misses the first fairway, the second fairway. He does make a birdie on 3, misses the bogeys 4 and 5, and we thought maybe he is human, but he used his mental strength to kind of regain his composure, birdie 6 and 8, and kind of walk away with it with the tournament record of 20 under par. But I really think, Dan, everybody's going to remember Tiger Woods' 10 and what he did during that. And one of the things that the weather caused is, you didn't see much wind throughout the week, so the scores were low because of softer conditions and no wind. And then Tiger hit, I believe it was a 9-iron in there. His caddy, Joe LaCava, who caddied for Freddie Couples back in 1992 when Couples won, said to him something that I love, that any good caddy or coach would say is, hey, look, if you don't feel committed to this shot, step away. If you don't like this, let's start over. And Tiger made the swing, and you can watch players when their reactions as soon as it leaves the club. They know whether they've hit the ball the way they wanted to. Tiger was staring this thing down. It was just on the right edge of the bunker, which is most players' target then. And it came up, 5 yards short and rolled back down into Rays Creek. We watched him take this drop, got the number to play a difficult shot, over the creek to a very shallow green there. That's why that hole's so difficult. And he landed the ball on the green, well onto the green, and spun it off the green into the creek. You would never, ever see that in April. And then he had a poor 5th shot into the back bunker. He had some back issues, sculled that one in there. And there's really only solitude on the 13th tee when there's normally crowds. It's the only place where you can kind of regroup, take a breather, and you not have to worry about what, being seen by anybody. And Woods went back there and probably hit the best drive of the day for him there, tight draw around that corner, knocked it up on the green, made birdie on the 5 of the next 6 holes. So I think every junior golfer, every college golfer, hopefully every professional golfer learned a pretty valuable lesson that it's never over. Even when you could have gone there and soaked up there in the bushes, Tiger Woods did some pretty impressive stuff.
Yeah, when he was at the top of his game, and we know that he's had some issues, including some physical issues over the last number of years, but when he was setting the world on fire, and you know this better than anybody on this call, the thing that set him apart, yeah, he had the physical talent, but it was what was going on between his ears that separated him from everybody else, right?
No question about it. One of the other impressive statistics, if you like this stuff, some of it's boring, some people like to hear this stuff, but you know, the guy that's made the headlines the last few months with his great play and his long driving efforts, Bryson DeChambeau, won the US Open by 6 shots at winged foot, took 4 weeks off before the Masters to go home and learn how to hit it even farther, it's wild. Not many players have taken that much time off before they compete in a major championship. And Bryson showed up at Augusta with 4 different drivers, was hitting 4 different drivers up until Wednesday night. And I have these stats from the strokes gained stats for the week. And he was number 1 in driving at the Masters. He was even better than Rory McIlroy and better than Dustin Johnson off the tee. But unlike winged foot, where he was spectacular around the greens, chipping, bunker play, and around on the putting green, he was dismal around the greens, almost last. And his iron play into the greens was way below average. So it's nice, you know, I saw that first little trivia question, bomb one down the first fairway. That's always nice to do. But if you don't convert, if you don't get the ball in the hole, it doesn't matter who you are. And Dustin Johnson, not only did he finish 3rd off the tee for the week, he was 3rd in putting and 2nd in iron play. And that's an unbeatable combination for the world's best.
Brad, your connection with the Furman Golf program obviously has remained strong over the years. You don't mean to embarrass you in any way, shape, or form, but you have helped this program financially on more than one occasion. You have remained solidly connected to the golf program. Who's that young guy, by the way? Ty Osborne.
That's that haircut. Look at that.
Ty Osborne going deep into the archives. What is it about Furman that makes you want to still be that connected with this program all these years later?
Well, I think about how it affected my life, really, in so many different positive ways. And I look at the people that come out of our programs. You know, Keller Harper, we spent some time together up in Rhode Island. Certainly when I've seen him down in Greenville. I spoke to Natalie on the phone, and Julie Inkster, one of the best women golfers ever played, said she absolutely loves Natalie. So the people that come out are really impressive. But I was lucky to get to Furman. My grandfather had met the director of development down in Sea Island, Georgia, a year or two before I went to school as Moffett Kendrick. And I had never heard of Furman, frankly, and Furman had never heard of me. And I just happened to be at a golf tournament where I saw a guy with a Furman shirt on, had white shirt with purple, and I walked up to him. It was Coach Doc Meredith. And when I told him I wanted to come to Furman, I was looking at Furman. He kind of smiled and said, "We don't have any golfers from Rhode Island at our school." And when I came down there, Willie Miller replaced Doc Meredith. So we were both very raw when we got there. And it was so different. I mean, Willie was learning as he went, as was I. I mean, we had Surlin golf balls with, you know, dirt and cuts on them. We were trying to pick a patch of grass that was had the most grass on it to hit our range balls up that hill. We were sharing the range with the members of the club and the faculty around. And now to see what the program's done and what Matt Davidson has done for, you know, really single-handedly in the last few years with his recruiting, his commitment, his experiences playing professional golf. You know, the legacy of the women's team is certainly going to help Jeff and the team continue on forever. And we need to do what all these other schools do, and that's provide some of the best facilities. And just to be able to be a part of that, to be able to put my name with Cindy Davis's name, and recruiting is the name of the game. If you can't get the top players, you're never going to have a successful program. And I think the commitment of so many people. I mean, I get lucky because I played professional golf, but there have been so many other people that have helped to raise the necessary money and keep this going, because as you know, it's really hard when you're competing against all these other schools.
There's no question about that. I believe we have Keller's audio situation worked out now. So Keller will bring you into this conversation as well. And Brad talked about having conversations with you. What's it like for you as still an active Furman golfer, Furman student athlete, to be able to have a resource like a Brad Faxon to draw on?
Yeah, it's awesome. Mr. Faxon and I were able to do some work together in Rhode Island on my putting. I was up there for the Northeast Am, which is a tournament that I was fortunate to play in a great tournament, a lot of history. So we did some work on my putting. And he also came down for our fundraising tournament, where we were able to spend some time together, able to ask him some questions and just pick his brain a little bit. Such a smart guy with so much experience at the highest level, which is what my goal is to achieve in the future here. Additionally, with Coach Davidson, also a guy who played on tour, it's great to have the resources that we do in the form of our alumni for me and for our players as well.
And Brad, it's one thing to give back to a program or any organization or cause with your checkbook, which is obviously needed, but it's another thing to be willing to invest some time, like Keller is talking about here. Why is that important to you, to be able to not only support financially the program, but also to be a mentor or to be around, to be a sounding board?
That's a great question, Dan. You know, when I was in Rhode Island as a junior golfer, there was one golf professional from our state that had played in some PGA Tour events. His name was Dana Quigley. He became a very successful Champions Tour player. But I caddied for him a little bit. He went to the same high school. He's 15 years older than me or so. And he was kind of a role model, you know, that kind of gave me some hope that there was life outside of the state of Rhode Island if I was going to be a golfer, that I could do what he was doing. And when I came to Furman, I think one of the things that I saw in the pro shop, there were a couple of the men's players before me, Kenny Zell and David Strawn, that had made All-American. And there were those plaques, and they had first, second, and third team names. And I looked at those plaques and saw the first team All-Americans. Almost every single one of those players had made it on the PGA Tour. And I thought, if I could ever be an All-American, I have a chance to do what I want to do. So if I can help any of the players that are motivated to be great in any way possible, and it's seeing what Keller's been doing and what Matt's doing with a lot of the kids that are there now, it seems like you get a little bit of this momentum and nothing will stop us.
We have some questions that have come in for you, Brad, and the danger of doing this lunch and learn is there are people who knew you when you were here. So the first question I have, someone wants to know if you still have your Buick convertible from your Furman days.
That was, if you want to get very specific, was a Pontiac. It was a Granville 1975 with a Landau roof. And it was taken by my sister one summer afternoon. She followed the Grateful Dead around and left it on the New Jersey Turnpike when the engine overheated. So no, I don't have that.
That sounds like a story that at some juncture we need to spend a little more time on.
But I could easily fit the entire team in that car with clubs in the trunk.
Land yacht, basically, is what we're talking about here. Did it have a Hemi?
It was 454 something.
Oh, that's great. You were and are known for your putting ability, and we've had a couple of different questions wanting to know how you became so good at that aspect of your game.
I think growing up in Rhode Island was a big asset for me. The golf course where I caddied, Rhode Island Country Club, was an old Donald Ross course. And there were so many of those courses built by Ross in that area that had incredibly slopey greens. And growing up in a state where you might not think you can be great because weather's maybe not always ideal to play, I think learning to play in poor conditions, learning to play on greens where every single putt you had seemed to be outside of the hole. I caddied a lot as a kid too, and helped players read, members at the club read greens. I think that was important. I certainly don't think that some of the old axioms that you hear that you're either born a good putter or you're not. my stats on the PGA Tour on the greens got better as I got older. And when I led the stats, the season stats, 3 different years, well into my 30s, actually 35, and even one year in my 40s. And I showed you this stat page from the Masters yesterday, and there's a guy down here that's 63 years old named Bernhard Langer. And you see that 9.46 is him leading the week in putting at 63. So to me, it's so much, like Jeff said, about an attitude and a mindset. I mean, it's nice to have great looking mechanics like young Cameron Smith has on the greens, but there's a lot of different styles that work like Bryson DeChambeau does with his putting. So I was lucky enough to have a good attitude. I learned and talked to a lot of players that were better than me when I was growing up, and Greg Norman or Ben Crenshaw, Tom Watson, played with those players a lot. So that helped. And then, having, I think, a desire. And when I told my daughter, who has a hard time getting out of bed by 11, that I never had a class after 11 o'clock at Furman. And even before my 8 o'clock class, I would often be on the practice green or hitting balls before I went to school. I mean, that's what I love to see, the passion of the kids that we're seeing now at Furman.
Brad, I know you've got to go here in just a couple of minutes. I want to bring Matt in and kind of ask you the same question I asked Keller, but from a coach's standpoint, to have this kind of resource to draw on, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to this program?
Yeah, we're just incredibly grateful for Brad for so many reasons, so many things he does for us. Obviously, the support he gives us with the things like the Cindy Davis and Brad Faxon training facility that we're going to start construction on is amazing, and just the ambassador he is for Furman Golf with all the things he has done professionally and now does announcing, and of course architecture and everything he does is an incredible name to have attached to our program. But it's like Brad and Keller mentioned, it's the way he wants to help the students and connects with the students too that I think is the neatest part about it, and the part that he really enjoys that we're thankful for. I remember when I was in college, sitting around his kitchen in Rhode Island, we played a tournament up there, and we had all the team just shooting questions at him, mostly about putting, just picking his brain. And then fast forward 20 years later, like Keller was talking about, after the last time we had our alumni event out here in the spring, last time we were able to have it, hopefully we'll have it again soon, but same thing, Brad around a table with everybody in the team, and them just, a bunch of college kids just firing questions his way about putting and life and Furman. And that's really the most special part to me, just spanning over decades, the way he's been involved and such a huge supporter of ours.
I'm going to have to search the annals of Furman alumni history and see if I can't find some professional broadcasters who've been very successful to adopt the broadcasting department, because every one of these things we do, we're bringing in alumni who have been so engaged with the programs, and it just proves how important it is for the program's success to have those successful alumni continue to be engaged. And that's one of the constant themes we've had in this Lunch and Learn series. Brad, I know you got to go. Before we do, I'm going to bring that trivia question back up. And I qualified that this came off of Wikipedia, so you can tell us how accurate it is. But do you know the answer to your own trivia question? Number of PGA wins.
I do, Dan. By the way, the 21 career wins as a professional is very generous. That counts some team events and some maybe silly season stuff. But the 8 is correct. If you counted the 2 Champions Tour wins, I don't know how detailed you want to get, it would be 10. But that's very good. I'm glad most of the people got that right. And I got 5 more minutes, Stan, before I got to jump if we want to keep going.
Okay, I was told you had to be off at 12:45. That'll give me an opportunity to. I don't want Jeff Hull to think we've forgotten about him, because I'm very curious from your standpoint, Jeff. You have so many of these type of alumni to draw on the women's side. Just great names up and down the roster. But do you guys cross connect at all? I mean, have you spent any time with Brad at all and talking to him about certain aspects of your program?
I've met Brad a few times, and unfortunately, I haven't got to spend as much time as I'd like to. He's usually pretty busy with the guys. I mean, it's it's hard. Those guys, they want to pick his brain for everything. I remember seeing Brad at the U.S. Open when Natalie was competing up in New Jersey. I remember we had a nice conversation. At the time, it was about our golf bags and the pins that were on the bag. And hey, how do you get those pins? And Natalie had a whole bunch of them on her bag. So, but we are fortunate, that we do have strong alumni on our side as well. And just like Brad, they're very giving of their time, and financially. And it's interesting because, Dottie, couldn't be on today. She had some other obligations, but, you can pick up the phone and call Dottie and she'll either answer it or she'll call you right back, and Beth, Daniel, and Betsy King, the same thing. I mean, they're so gracious with their time. And Cindy Davis, who also was planning on being on the call today, but had a board meeting she needed to be a part of. Cindy's been outstanding for me, as a coach. She's been a great mentor. I mean, one of the great, leaders in the golf industry. So to have all these people, like Brad and all these women, it's so amazing. And that's what's great about Furman is the kind of people, that come out of here, and that they are so giving of their time. It's great.
Brad, back to you before you do have to run. Chris sent this note and said that you came down for a fundraising tournament last year, gave an incredible mini clinic at the REK Center on chipping and putting. And we're not above putting you on the spot here. Chris wants to know if you'll come back and do it again.
I would come back in a heartbeat. I'm just so impressed with everything back there and what I never had. I was jealous to see the facility. I can't wait to see the new building when it's finished. But I want to leave with a funny story for Jeff and the women's team and Dottie Pepper, because she got recruited while I was a senior, and Coach Potter and Coach Miller asked if I would play golf with her as she was a senior in high school looking at coming to Furman. And I went out and played, just the two of us. And it was as competitive a round of golf as I have played in my life. And I think I might have shot 66. She shot 67 around the course the first time she played it. And I was like, boy, is she good. And she's become a good friend. And on the broadcast this week at the Masters, in the production meeting for all the CBS talent, the Masters organization asked the players to not use the term mud balls. As wet as it was, a lot of the players' balls were landing in the fairway and had mud in it. As any good player would know, that mud can make a big difference in the flight of the golf ball. And there's theories, and something that Phil Mickelson has espoused, that if the mud's on the right of the ball's going to hook to the left. And who knows? But there was one hole on, I think it was number 10 with Dustin Johnson, and maybe it was on 13 when he's getting ready to decide whether he's going to go for this green and two or lay it up, that Dottie said, well, he's got some organic matter on the side of the ball. And I was texting with Ian Baker Finch and Dottie yesterday during the final round. I'm like, organic matter? Did you really say that? So next time you say Dottie, tell her all your players, Jeff, are struggling with organic matter, and see how she responds to that.
I'm actually going to text her here in just a moment.
Yeah, perfect. You guys, thank you so much for having me. Matt, keep it going. Jeff, hopefully I see you guys in the spring. And hey, look, we have another major in 5 months.
Yep.
The Masters.
Brad, thank you, my friend. Good to see you.
Great seeing everybody.
Yeah, that is Brad Faxon, another golf clap here on our Lunch and Learn here for Furman Athletics. We've got a few minutes left. We'll get let's spend a couple. Ty accidentally muted me instead of someone else. Maybe I'm talking too much. I don't know. We do want to spend a couple of minutes more with Keller Harper before we come back to both coaches and close it out. Keller, you're just kind of sitting here and taking in all of this, and you're playing for a program with that kind of history. Do you and your teammates, can you really grasp the kind of history that you have here at this program? Do you talk about that at all?
I think we just want to continue to develop and facilitate, better and better play as the program under Coach Davidson matures in these coming years. Obviously, people like Coach Davidson and Mr. Faxon have been awesome influences for us both on and off the golf course. And we want to make our alumni and make the Furman community proud by how we play and how we act as a team. We definitely have high goals this year that we believe we can achieve, and we look forward to hopefully making some history of our own in the spring.
We mentioned, or I mentioned a moment ago when we were trying to bring you on the first time, that last year your scoring average was fourth best in Furman men's golf history. But I know if you're a competitor of any kind, you want to improve on that this year. What have you been doing to work on improving your game?
I usually am working a lot on my short game putting. I like to hit balls and I like to work on my ball striking, but that's always been my strength. So working on, 60 yards and in, getting the ball up and down, making putts. That's where I do, if I can improve that aspect of my game, I feel like I can make some big strides and shooting much lower numbers. I've seen some good payoff from that hard work and looking forward to continuing to work on that in the future. But that's definitely what I've been working on during this time where we haven't been playing as many tournaments as we would like to.
I've heard a lot of elite athletes talking about improving their game, and one of the things that is a common theme among them is that they don't spend nearly as much time on the things they do well, which sometimes is the inclination. If in basketball, if you're a good 3-point shooter, that's where you want to spend all your time when you're quote unquote working on your game. But it's working on the parts of the game and spending most of the time in practice where your game needs the improvement. And it sounds to me like that's exactly what you're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yeah. It's just trying to make the most out of the time that you have, being intentional with your practice. Obviously, if you're good at something, you want to continue to refine that so that you can become better and better and use that strength that you have to the best of your abilities, but also improving your weaknesses as well.
Matt, if he improves much more, you're going to be in really good shape, aren't you?
Yeah. It's the way he's improved his weaknesses over the last 3 years has been unbelievable to watch. After his sophomore year, he was the Southern Conference, player of the year, but knew his short game needed some work to take to the next level, and then just worked incredibly hard at it, turned that into a strength. And then it was controlling the trajectory on some of his short irons and things like that. And he's worked so hard on that. And now it's his putting, which has gotten so much better and is really turning his strength now. So it's fun to watch the way he kind of tackles his weaknesses and just works hard at it. I'm kind of scared to think what he's going to do when he's out of college and just has nothing to do all day other than play golf, because he spends the hours already. So it's been fun to watch.
Let's try to get to some other questions here in our final few minutes. Jeff, we have at least one high school senior on this call today, and basically asking the question of how does the recruiting process start for men or women? I'll pose it to you, Jeff. How does the recruiting process to play golf at Furman start for someone who's interested in coming here?
Well, I think, for anybody that, from a coaching standpoint, we're looking at honestly scores. I mean, we look at, the types of tournaments that they play in. For us, we're looking mostly at, AJGA tournaments, which is the National Junior Tour. The Peggy Kirk Bell is a great tour for us to look at. It's a girls only tour that's kind of in the Southeast. But also I look at players who want to come to Furman. We're competing against some of the big Power 5 schools. So that interest in Furman is very, very important. We talk so much about the Furman kid, the kid that really kind of fits in and buys into what we do. So that's really important as well. And obviously grades, it's a tough academic school. And so we're always looking for those players that can, compete on the golf course and in the classroom. For any student athlete that's interested, reach out to us, send us what you got, because that's always, where we start.
And Matt, as good as the scores on the course might be, at Furman, we know that the scores in the classroom are really the first thing, because if you can't get past that obstacle, what you're doing on the course doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's it's one of the top factors that we look at. Yeah, just not just for the admission standards, but also to know that student athlete can handle the demands of golf with the school and hopefully thrive academically and not just survive. So it's would be the first thing we look at when we get an email or a phone call about a recruit.
Yeah, it's been really interesting for me in the 10 years that I've been here in watching it and talking to student athletes as they come in, especially when they're maybe halfway through their freshman year and finding out from them, you were told about Furman's academics, but did you really understand what you were getting into? And almost to a man or woman, they say no, that it was beyond what they were told. So Jeff, it takes a special kind of student athlete to be able to not just survive, but thrive inside this athletic department.
Yeah, and we go back to Natalie. I mean, Natalie is National Player of the Year and had over a 3.9 GPA. And so, that's special. But all of our players have done well, academically, historically. So I think it is very important to find that player.
Yeah, see, to me, that's just showing off. When you're that good and your academics are that high, that's just blatant showing off. I mean, I tell people, and it's a joke, but it's also true, that I may be the only man in America who broadcasts for a school who wouldn't have let him in as a student. So now, but when you hear stories like that, that's another reason why this place is so wonderful. Ty, let's pull the poll question back up. Brought to you by Christopher Trucks as we get set to wrap things up here. What's the best feeling when you're playing golf? Bombing the drive straight down the fairway, placing the first shot within 10 feet on the par 3, or sinking the putt from 15 plus? We have a majority, 51% of you said that sinking a putt from 15 plus feet. And that kind of goes along to what Brad was talking about a moment ago. Coaches, I'm going to give each of you an opportunity to make kind of a closing statement here. Matt, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just obviously appreciate this last hour and all these lunch and learns you've done, Dan. It's been fun to finally be on one. But yeah, we're just excited about the spring season. It was it's required a lot of patience for these student athletes to wait this long to compete again, and it's gonna be a lot of fun and it's gonna be a sprint once we get going. So like we said, and like Keller was saying, I think we can achieve great things this spring, and just it'll be here before we know it, I guess, but a couple more months, and we're just, really excited about the spring.
Jeff Hull.
Well, Dan, again, I'll echo what Matt said. Thank you so much, for giving us a platform, to talk about our programs. A lot of exciting things going on with both of us. As a coach, I got to give a shout out to Matt. It's great having Matt here. Running the men's team. I've learned a lot, from Matt with his knowledge of playing professional golf and his energy, with building this program. And it's the synergy of the two programs together that's going to make both programs even better. So, I'm really excited that Matt's here, and really excited about, what's coming with the building. And just, like Matt said, just can't wait to get out and compete in the spring.
Yeah, and you get that new facility built and the pressure just goes up and up and up, doesn't it?
Yep.
There's no resting on your laurels. Guys, thank you so much. Jeff Hull, Matt Davidson, Keller Harper has been with us, and also Brad Faxon and Natalie Srinivasan. We are just so excited to have had all of you here with us to make this Lunch and Learn a fun one again today. Again, next week, Michelle Young, Rachel Witten, Wally King will all three be our special guests as we do one more of these before we get to Thanksgiving and Christmas, and then we'll take a break until January. Thank all of you, as always, for joining us here on our Lunch and Learn series. We hope you're enjoying them, and I'll just remind you that if you have any questions or comments, people you'd like to see, you can always drop me an email, dan.scott@furman.edu. And I got to say hello to somebody specifically, because I see here on just about every one of these things, our basketball super fan, Miss Denai, is here. Hey, how you doing? Listen, you folks have a great rest of your Tuesday. For our athletic director, Jason Donnelly, for Ty Osborne, all of us here at Furman, I'm Dan Scott, saying God bless you, and so long, everybody.